Hey guys, what up? It's your boy Prob, coming at you from the end of the season, opening a couple of chests. Same old, same old. So you might notice that I'm at 7,600 trophies right now, and that is not a coincidence. I am actually gonna stop here for the season. Like, it's probably not gonna be top 1k, so I might go for like one more game maybe to secure the top 1k by the end, but I think this is as good of a time as any to record the last video of the season. And by the way, I made a new clan. It's called Prob. Might as well join it if you want. You can join it even if you have like one trophy or something. So yeah, everybody's welcome. Let me show you some replays. All right. Let's go as far down as Supercell will allow me to go, as usual, and show all the ladder victories that brought me here. So I think it starts around here. So the first game is against King, by the way, running Valk Drill Wall Breakers, which is honestly like a pretty it's a pretty common deck actually. I think it's one of the 50 most popular. So yeah, sorry if I adjust the volume there real quick. This is not the best matchup because they have a faster cycle than you. You can get overwhelmed quite easily if you try to defend everything. So it's like one of those matchups where you actually do have to tank some damage sometimes just to get like that slight advantage that will put you over the edge. Here was kinda wondering which deck it was, so I put a Mortar in there to test it out. Since usually, oh yeah, Fireball here is a great way to clean that. But yeah, since usually wall breaker decks are very cyclish, you can definitely go for a Mortar at the bridge to test the waters. It's not like a Golem deck or anything, which against which you can't really do that. And yeah, once you find out that they have an Inferno, a whole world of possibility is open. You can try to predict the Inferno the next time with some Spear Gobs, with a Goblin Gang, anything to give you that mortar connection, which usually if you actually do predict that and they don't have a login cycle, it's basically already game there. So yeah, best answers to drill, probably gang in the back of the tower, but when you don't have it, you might as well go for a knight. A pre-knight is actually pretty good to defend a drill if you think that you know where they're gonna place it. And as you can see here, we get a lot of damage on both sides. I think I might make a small mistake here. No, okay, I just log it just to be safe. I just log the Dart Gob. And yeah, it's actually not that bad of a matchup, really. You just need to keep focused, like to keep control of the arena for most of the game. Because like once things start to get out of hand, they get out of hand quickly. If they somehow force a mistake out of you, that is already enough to just they can pretty much just keep spamming you until the end of the game, which is kind of what he's trying to do here. Like as you can see, like I almost fucked up here real bad by missing that log, but I saved it like last second by cycling to the night. And here he did defend Dartcob, so I was forced to fireball. Otherwise, Dartcob would have gotten enough value to start that cascading effect I was talking about, where they get your whole tower. Here, luckily, I had a mortar. If I didn't have a mortar in cycle, that defense would have been just completely over. At least on the right side, I would have taken a lot of damage. And here is actually when I make the mistake. Yeah, I played my knight a little too late. Dartkov does get a bunch of damage, which almost puts my opponent in the damage lead. And this is one of those decks where, yeah, you can come back from a damage lead, but the gameplay gets a lot more awkward when you have to play in such a way that you don't receive any more damage. Because as I said, when you're playing against really fast decks like this one, you do have to tank some damage sometimes on your tower just to keep the control of the field. And when you're too far down behind on Elixir, you can't really tank damage. So yeah, if they go for fireballs, you can always log. that is always the best option when they go drill plus fireball, so that you can't do anything. It is always good to just log the drill to prevent all damage. Here he goes for another drill, and yeah, I had to go for a knight here because I didn't have my logging cycle, but a gang plus log would have perfectly defended that with the right timing. It is honestly one of the best answers to these drill cycle decks, to just go gang on the drill and then log everything back. Here I do go for kind of an early log. It's really important if you want to actually maximize your gameplay against these kind of decks. It is really important to learn at which point of the drill's HP bar you have to log. Like you gotta notice which exact point is when you can log by killing the goblins that spawn afterwards. Because if you miss that, that can mean a lot of damage on your tower. But yeah, after a certain point, you can just start fireball cycling. Now here, the next game is against a very weird Mortar Carol deck. It's not one of the most popular ones, I don't think so, but it does have Cannon Cart and Minion Horde, which is a very, very annoying combination for Mortar Bait to go up against. So here, both me and my opponent start the game with a Skelly Barrel at the bridge. Luckily, I do have a Mortar for it, which is the best counter to drill. Not to drill, sorry, I was still thinking about the last game, to Skelly Barrel. Here, I think I go for a very awkward defense, but it works out in the end. Knight in the middle to counter both. A very, very weird log, actually, and then a Goblin Gang last second to just keep the cannon cart barely out of range of my tower. If he goes for Spear Gobs here at the bridge, I think it would be best to just put a Mortar down, but I didn't do it, I actually ignored them. One of the best things to do when you want to counterattack and they just cycle spear gobs at the bridge is to just tank the spear gob shots with the mortar, because you're basically getting a 2 elixir mortar down. The damage they do on the mortar is not that much, and you're applying pressure at the same time. So yeah, this is the kind of log that sometimes does lose me games. Luckily here I was able to cycle some spear gobs, but when your opponent activates the Skelly King ability, sometimes you do want to wait a little more than what your best judgment might tell you, just to log as late as possible to get all the skeletons, because the skeletons do keep spawning for a while. Here I do go for a knight, but I didn't have enough elixir in time, so the cannon cart ends up connecting, and that puts my opponent into quite a big damage lead. He kind of just caught me with my pants down, so to speak, and I do log this. I think it would definitely be stupid not to. I don't know why I didn't log that. I guess I wanted to get a little counter push out of that, but it would have been better to just log it, because now I have invested a musketeer on that field and he's probably gonna not get too much value. I mean, at least I can get a counter push out of it. But even with that, I go for a Skelly Barrel quite late. So yeah, no, I wasn't playing that the best, but I mean, it worked out in the end because I was able to cycle another musketeer. He ends up fireballing that, but before the mortar shot kills it, I go for another mortar. So I think at this point it's kind of like a war on whoever can get the single mortar connection on the opponent's tower here. If either me or my opponent can get a good mortar connection, that is all we really need to win this whole game. And if we don't, if we both defend perfectly, then it's gonna be a spell cycle game. He goes for Scar me to defend that, and I cycle more musketeers. This is as good of a matchup as any to win with mask stacking. If you guys have not seen my video tutorial on how to stack musketeers, I really suggest you to do that. It's very, very helpful for well, usually it's really, really helpful against either Lava Hound or Mega Knight, but with all these very, very heavy uh, SK Mortar decks, it's also useful. Even though the SK doesn't have too much HP to like keep the Musketeers on your side of the arena while they're shooting it, so that you can stack them, it's still good because when they have a cannon cart and a mortar and all that stuff on the field, it's basically as much HP as a Pekka or a Lava Hound or a Mega Knight, you know? So it does work out in the end. As you can see, I do have the damage lead now after a couple good trades, and now I'm pretty much not even trying to break through anymore, not even trying to get damage. I'm just trying to not let him break through. If he doesn't get any damage at all, then I can win this with the spell cycle because we have pretty much the same spells. In fact, I do have a log more of damage over him, so in a spell cycle battle, I do win, especially now that I have the damage lead. So yeah, a great way to hold is to Knight plus Musk, and then just fireball whatever excess they have that like manages to sleep through. Because Musketeer does by herself have enough DPS to hold almost everything in the game. And when you put a Knight down to tank for her, then nothing can get through. Especially if you keep the fireballs for defense. This is why Mortar Bait is such a good deck when you have a damage advantage, because you can turtle up really, really well on defense. I mean, it's a siege deck after all. Alright, next game is against Icebow, and yeah, if there is one deck that is better than Mortar Bait at turtling up on defense and just spell cycling your opponent, well, that is Icebow right there. Probably one of the best at doing that. It is one of the most siege decks in the game. So I've heard a lot of people say in my clan that Icebow is a bad matchup for Mortar Bait, which I really don't agree with. I think Mortar Bait has a matchup advantage against Icebow. The only problem is that you can't allow your opponent to get any damage whatsoever. If they get a damage lead on you, then they can turtle up on defense and you are basically dead. So you really gotta pay attention in single a lot, in single elixir, and you gotta try to break through a little to get like, a little bit of an advantage. Not even that much, just, a rocket or more worth of damage, because once you do that, if they do try to spell cycle you and just go full defense, then you can always try to spam the bridge as soon as they rocket, and then they will not be able to defend if you do it right, because they are 6 elixir behind. So here I try to go both lanes at the same time, which is always what you want to do against these defensive decks. You want to do this against the classic Logbait, you want to do this against Icebow, and pretty much every rocket deck. Like, I don't know if you guys have played against that, I call it the CRL miner deck, I guess miner rocket. It's what Nate plays, Baby Nate. I don't know if you guys follow his YouTube. If you don't, really do look for it. He's a very, very good player, commentates really well on his games. But yeah, against all of these rocket cycle decks, you do want to apply pressure on both sides, because they usually have a lot of difficulty defending double lane pushes. If you focus always on the same lane, a good player can always try to defend it. So always try to get the most out of a push. If you have like a musketeer, even a 1 HP musketeer, try to put a skelly barrel in front of it. If you have a mortar, try to defend it against the Tesla like I did here. I did play that knight. He could have not even played that Tesla, but I would have still tried to predict with the knight, just to, get as much, how do you say it, as much pressure, I guess, as possible for my push. You can never allow them to get too comfortable on defense. Here I do cycle a fireball. I don't have anything else to do, but I think that that's fine, because I had enough of an elixir lead that he couldn't really punish me for it. And I'm trying at this point to just keep the damage lead high enough on his tower, because you guys are gonna see, if you get to triple elixir, if you get close to the tiebreaker, these guys, the Icebow players, can get all the way back from like a 1000 damage lead or even more by just rocket cycling your tower again and again. Luckily here I do get another Mortar shot, which solidifies even more my damage lead. And I don't know why would Nate do that. That was kind of a mistake on his part, but we do still have the Musketeer tanking, so I just go for some Spear Gobs to finish down the Icebow. And as you can see, I get a bunch of damage from the Musketeer on the opponent's side. And now this is a big enough lead that I would feel comfortable to start spell cycling them. But I still don't for some reason. That was probably a mistake if you ask me. Yeah, especially now that I don't really. Yeah, that mortar was definitely a mistake. That mortar was like a big overcommitment on offense, and it's probably gonna allow his yeah, it's gonna allow his expo to get damaged. So don't do that. That was a huge mistake to go offensive instead of defensive because I already had a big enough lead that I could just start spell cycling my opponent and just defend, defend, defend. But now I can't anymore. And as you can see, he's starting to rocket cycle. I will fireball his tower, I think. I will actually fireball the. Yeah, no, that is also wrong. I made a bunch of mistakes here. I guess I got a little nervous when I saw that X-Bow connection, and I switched lanes, which is well something that you shouldn't really do too much of against Icebow because they're gonna focus on the same lane and they're eventually gonna get enough rocket damage to really beat you up. So, despite that huge damage lead that I had, I almost choked this game by switching lanes back and forth and, well, trying to go offensive instead of just spell cycling, which is a big no no. But as you can see, even though he got really, really close to actually beating me, he couldn't cycle in time to his next expo. If this expo hit, of course I would have lost, but luckily he didn't. I guess I got a little lucky there with the tiebreaker not being like 1 second later. But Icebow actually a good matchup if you don't play dumb. Next one is this is one of the best matchups in the game actually. 3M bridge spam. The Golden Knight definitely does make it a lot harder, but as you can see, even the best, not to toot my own horn here, but even the best Mortar Bait player in the world does lose the best matchup in the game when he's not playing good. So, okay, I guess let's watch this super weird deck against Massimo Meridio. I think that's like a Roman gladiator or something. I think I've heard the word Massimo, like the name Massimo Meridio before. But yeah, I'm actually gonna play this a little faster because it's a super weird deck. You guys are probably not gonna face this on ladder or anything. I thought for pretty much the entire game that it was Lava SK, which is actually a real deck, but it's not Lava SK. And yeah, actually no. Let me rewind here. This is pretty important. I almost never do this, but sometimes you really have to do this. If you notice here, I don't fully defend. Like I could have logged all these Kellys to not get all that damage, but I let all of that go because I know that I have a big enough lead in Elixir to just completely go for this tower. I even put a knight in front, which pays off extremely well once he fireballs the musketeer, so that 1 HP musketeer pretty much takes his whole tower. It's not a thing that you do a lot of in Mortar Bait to sacrifice tower damage in order to get damage on their tower. It's more of a thing that you do with beatdown decks like Golem or Lava. But sometimes, when you already have a big enough lead, getting that extra 1 or 2 elixir by sacrificing some tower HP can just pretty much get you the whole tower. And in those cases, you should actually sacrifice damage. But yeah, I pretty much already won this. Let's just, cycle this a little quicker. Against these decks, you do want to cycle your musketeers a lot. You want to stack musketeers, as I said before. Mask stacking is extremely important. If you saw there, maybe that was going a little too fast, but that guy did actually fireball zap my musketeers. And right at the end, before the game ended, he just put a Mega Knight at the bridge, and I was like, what? You have a Mega Knight? You had a Mega Knight in this deck the whole time? It's a really weird deck. But we did win it. Oh, this one against Coke is actually kind of insane. You guys might know already that Mortar Bait doesn't have a good matchup against other Mortar decks when they have a Miner, especially Miner Poison, because they can just like Miner Poison your tower, and you really can't do much about it. So winning these kind of matchups really requires a lot of skill, and it requires pressuring super well. Which, not the best pressure right now. I pretty much just fireballed this tower and defended the miner with what I had. I didn't really have anything to catch the miner, so just tried to DPS it down as quickly as possible. And the Golden Knight also makes this matchup a lot harder. You can't defend the miner without risking giving the Golden Knight a connection on your tower, because if you play a Goblin Gang, for example, almost always the Golden Knight is gonna get all the way to your tower when they activate the ability. Here, I did know, okay, this is kind of a cheat, I guess. It's not really cheating, but I did know that that guy had bats, because I made the map of the meta, which, by the way, check out the community tab if you're watching this on YouTube. There is a Mortar map on the meta for the 30 most popular Mortar decks. But since I had made the map of the meta very recently, I already had freshly in my mind exactly what this deck is. There is not too many uh, Mortar Golden Knight decks in the game, so I pretty much already knew what this guy had. And that's why I knew he had bats, and that's why I cycled my Spear Gobs so that they wouldn't kill my Musketeer. That's why knowing about which decks are in the meta is actually super helpful for climbing ladder, because you can like recognize a deck after seeing two key cards. Let's say you see Mega Knight and Mortar, for example. You well, not Mega Knight. Yeah, okay, I do catch that with a Knight. If you see Golden Knight and Mortar, for example, you already know the rest of the cards in their deck 90% of the time. Some people do run variants, but when it's unlikely combinations like that, it's kind of almost like a cheat. And yeah, fireballing musketeers, you guys might have seen it. I did it once, I did it twice now. It can give you a mortar connection on the tower sometimes, and with these kind of matchups where it's like really bad matchup, you have to go for sneaky stuff like that, just like trying to get a sneaky mortar connection on their tower just by fireballing their musketeer. I do go for a log there, but it's not enough to kill the musketeer. It still survives with 1 HP. If you were like just lightly late with that log, then the musketeer would have died and would have gotten a mortar connection. But as you can see, we still have a slight damage advantage on my opponent's tower. So I'm not exactly chilling right now, but I am kinda comfortable for the moment. It's just a 200 HP advantage, so literally with just one fireball or like one poison is gonna put my opponent back on. But that is also why I'm going opposite lane. This is the kinda matchup where you always want to play opposite lane to your opponent. So you let them, well, not let them, but uh, I guess you wait for them to get enough damage on one of the two towers before choosing which tower you're gonna focus on for the rest of the game. Because you always want to play opposite side to them so that they can get all the poison value on your tower again and again every time you try to push. Like these kind of matchups with the minor poison are pretty much enough to, yeah, okay, that was a nice Kelly prediction on the musketeer. But yeah, the minor poisons are always enough to just completely beat you if you're pushing same lane and you can't do anything about it. They can just do it again and again and again. So like this guy is trying to switch lanes now because he does realize it. He's not a bad player, so he does want to play same lane as me. He knows that that will be a huge advantage. But as soon as he does that, I just switch lanes again. It's really important to not play same lane as a minor poison player when you're playing Mortar Bait. And the Spear Gobs not only help me against the bats there, but also tank for the Musketeer. He switches lane again, and that is the last time that I can switch lanes, otherwise I'm gonna lose. And since it's the last 30 seconds, I am just going all in, fireballing the tower, getting that mortar connection by targeting the Golden Knight and clipping the tower. The mortar is on tower right now. He doesn't have enough elixir to both defend and attack, and that is what you really want to do when you're close to the tiebreaker. You want to spread them thin so that they have to defend and attack at the same time. So really bad matchup, but I'd say I played this one really, really well. Kept control of the field the whole time, kept switching lanes every time he did, and ended up getting the win out of that. So that's pretty cool. Next one is against another drill deck. I guess this is kind of like the same, if not exactly the same as the first one that I showed you. I think it's exactly the same deck. Should I show it? I guess let's show it like a double speed, since it's like a matchup I already showed in this video. I don't want to show too much of the same thing, but I do want to show all the games that Supercell will allow me to show. So yeah, we're gonna do this at double speed. He goes for drill, go for musketeer. Oh yeah, this is a really unlucky start because he went for a cheeky drill that just tanked for both of my towers. So this guy started with a wall break, with a double wall breaker connection on my tower. Here I had to wait for the drill to get low enough on HP so that I could log it and the bomber. It is a lot of damage, but as I said, in this kind of matchup, you do sometimes have to tank damage so that they won't control the field. Because that's how these drill players win. They win by keeping you low on elixir, by cycling a bunch of stuff like these wall breakers. They just spend 2 elixir, 3 elixir, and you always have to spend more than they did to defend it. Like there, I really fucked up with the log. And this guy is definitely firmly in control right now. He has more damage than me on both towers, and he's definitely really happy with this situation. So what I have to do is to ignore enough damage that I get a big enough elixir lead that I can start controlling the field. And I can only do that if I do some good predictions, not like those spear gobs, and if I eventually force a mistake out of him, which I think I eventually do, because otherwise I wouldn't have won this. He goes for those wall breakers. Mortar is always really good against wall breakers, and yeah, I think that was the mistake. Like he went for an Inferno tower after I already defended the wall breakers with that mortar. So that mortar got enough value that I can now push both lanes, and as you can see, he got overwhelmed. He didn't have enough elixir, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. You just do one good trade and then you overwhelm them immediately. You spam both lanes and they cannot defend, which is exactly how they win against you, by the way. This matchup is kind of like you and your opponent both win in the same way. You win by gaining a very, very small elixir lead. You don't even need that much. Against other matchups, you need a way bigger lead to overwhelm. So that's why you always just, cheap damage. You get like a spear gob here, a spear gob there in other matchups. In this one, you really don't do that. You just get a very, very small lead and then overwhelm after that. So yeah, I guess just a repeat lesson of Valk drill wall breakers here. We're gonna go for the next one actually, which is hopefully a different matchup. Oh yeah. All right, Marcher wall breakers. Now this is a bad matchup. This is a really, really bad matchup. I have done, I think, a matchup guide on this before. Don't quote me on that. But this is basically a 20-80 matchup, which means that Mortar bait probably wins this like 20% of the time, if not even less. It's like it's a really, really, really bad matchup. So I'm really happy to have won this. I wouldn't even know how I did it. So let's watch this together and see what's up. Yeah, you do want a Fireball Magic Archer. Almost always, unless they have like a Fireball bait deck where you really need to keep your Fireball, you always want to Fireball the Marcher if it's close enough to the tower. But yeah, once you see all these cards, you already know that it's Marcher Wall Breakers, one of the worst matchups in the game, and you have to pretty much focus for the entire game to not let them get any Magic Archer value. Because that's how they win. They just get one Magic Archer on your mortars and then clip your tower through it, and you just get like 5 billion damage pretty much. Here I went for the log, more to kill the Marcher than to kill the bomb tower, but it didn't really work out. It still clipped my musketeer, so it couldn't kill it. and of course he gets as much value as possible out of it. Goes for a miner, but I think that that Goblin Gang was really good at mitigating the damage, especially because now he went for wall breakers to defend it. So honestly, I think I handled that as well as I could have, almost. When you're playing against these decks that have both Magic Archer and Tornado, you never want to play your Mortars like that. I did have to go for Knight because I knew exactly that it would go for a Magic Archer, but pretty much if you play your Mortar in front of your tower, you're just giving them free damage. They're always going to play the Magic Archer, so either you predict it, like I did there with the Knight, or just don't play them there. Play them in the middle. Play them at the center of the arena so that they can't get that Magic Archer value. Here he activates King Tower, which is very unfortunate. This is one of those matchups where every little bit of damage counts. So, when they have a King Tower activated, that means if luckily get any Excalibur on tower, that is still not gonna be enough because both the King Tower and the Princess Tower are shooting at it. So you might you might think I'm saying something and then doing something else here because I told you to not play your mortars like that, but then I played it again like that. But that was because you didn't have the magic archer in cycle. If you can't keep track of the cycle, don't play your mortars like that. And here, yes, this is exactly what I said last time against the Icebow deck. I went for like a double lane push because those are really hard to defend sometimes for these opponents. And as you can see, I got so much damage out of that knight. And here this is problematic. This is really problematic. The guy who starts to go for a minor fireball on the tower. When they minor plus pre-fireball, unless you're like a really good player that knows that they're gonna do that, then they're pretty much just gonna kill your whole goblin gang and get way too much damage. And if they do it again and again, that is pretty much how they win this. Here once again I did go for a mortar like that while the magic archer wasn't in cycle, but I kinda regret it. It could have definitely played that magic archer better and gotten a bunch of damage on my tower. Doesn't really matter as much because it's not on the tower that he's going in. But yeah, I think I go for a goblin game there. Excalibur on the other side. Once again, double push is very important, and I should have gone for a knight actually to tank uh, for that bomb tower. Here I try to predict the magic archer with my musketeer, but it doesn't really work. This is one of those situations where I did go for the mortar in front because of the fact that he already had a bomb tower down. Luckily, I do get one more mortar shot. I think this is what pushes me exactly over the edge to win this matchup. And he didn't go for the pre-fireball this time, luckily enough, because I think that would have actually given him the win. And yes, this is exactly how you win. As you can see, I have both sides. I have a mortar. He has to pick and choose which side he wants to defend, and whatever side ends up being lower on HP is the one that I am gonna fireball at the end to secure my win. So this almost never happens that you can overwhelm your opponent like that against a matchup like this. But as you can see, he goes for that Marcher Tornado to get the extra damage. Is not enough. I go for the Fireball on the lowest tower, and that is GG. These are really hard matchup. It's really hard to overwhelm your opponent like that by playing mortars on both sides because you need a very big elixir lead. Whew, alright. So Hoggy Q, of course, lost. I did win one actually before. It's a pretty much 100-0, but I don't know if I have. No, I don't have the replay. Maybe in my chat actually. That is definitely one. Oh, congratulations, Prob. Thank you. That is definitely one that I do want to show you if it's still here somewhere. How to beat 100? Oh yes. Okay, so you know what? This is not even in my replay list, but I got reminded of that by uh, the other Hoggy Q matchup that I had on my activity log there. So I might as well show you this. This is such a hard matchup, guys. Against Fire Spirit, you do want to defend with Excalibur. If they play it on the inside, you can actually play your Excalibur opposite lane so the fire spirit doesn't even jump on it. But yeah, as you can see, this is like really really bad. As soon as you see like fire spirit, hog, EQ, you already know that you lost. That you lost. At least it's better than the royal hog's EQ, but you know, like I have to play three elixir for one. That is a -2 trade. It's not a good matchup, guys. It's not a good matchup at all. But I did end up winning this, so I might as well show it to you. This is one of the least offensive versions, I guess, of Hog EQ because it does have like a mini Pekka and a Musketeer. I mean, it's definitely still like 100 though. I guess like 1090, but it's not as bad as let's say the Archer Queen Hog EQ. That one is like actually at 0-100. So yeah, the guy already got a bunch of damage with the hog opposite lane because he went double lane push with mini pack ice golem on one side and hog rider on the other. I did try to fireball it to prevent some damage, but that was pretty much the least amount of damage that I could have gotten. Here I don't think the hog does get any hits because despite the ice golem, mortar plus knight is plenty enough unless they like earthquake the mortar. In that case, I would have logged to prevent damage. But yeah, this is the kind of matchup where like you want to try to get as much cheap damage as possible. And yeah, I think yeah, I even failed the goblin gang there. If you play it early enough, that one goblin can like tank for the fire spirit while the rest goes opposite lane. But this guy is also not the best player, despite me being a really high ladder, like top 1000 almost. This guy was not playing super well. As you can see, he missed that earthquake. And here I also wasn't playing super well. I should have definitely played those spear gobs in the middle to tank for that fire spirit, and he keeps getting all these hog hits. As you can see, like I was so down on damage here. It's kind of a miracle that I won this. Like look at this. It's a 100-0 matchup for him. Oh yeah, here I pushed the hog with the spear gobs. That is a trick that I call the hog thingy, because Sopro Bro called it the hog thingy once. But you basically play your mortar opposite lane and then push the hog with either like a knight or a goblin gang or spear gobs, pretty much any ground troop. You can actually push it with the Scally Barrel as well if you pre-place it, because the hog is very very briefly an air unit when he jumps over the field. But that is very extra stuff. I think I've only done it like once or twice maybe with the Scally Barrel. So yeah, hog thingy super useful against hog EQ decks because then they can't EQ your lower tower, your lower side tower. Uh, but yeah, as I was saying, it's like if you look at this, you're like, how did you ever come back from such a huge damage deal against a hog EQ deck? And I guess this is why you should watch my videos. Stay tuned to find out. There we go. That is a very good reason of how I came back. My musketeer sniping his musketeer and me protecting with a knight. The musketeer also gets all that value against the hog, which admittedly was a huge mistake by him. He also cycled the log, which means that I can snipe the bridge now, that I can spam the bridge now, and I get two musketeers down. Which, as you guys know, once you get two musketeers on the field, it's over. I almost kill his musketeer. I have to go for a log to finish it off, and he misses a log here. Yeah, okay, that is how I won. Actually, that missed log was the reason I won. So I guess it's as much me as like getting really really good interactions, as much as my opponent just making a bunch of mistakes. Do cycle another musketeer here, and I think I fireball the hog just to make sure he doesn't get any hits. And at this point, it's just a spell cycle game. He does have EQ, which is really really good at spell cycling my tower. But with the EQ nerf, I wasn't too worried. In fact, one log, one fireball, and I will win. I tried to defend this hog without using fireball because I pretty much just needed one fireball log. And right at the end, the hog does get the hit, but I had to BM him. I really really hate this matchup. So yeah, that is how to win a 100-0, pretty much. All right, let's finish with this activity log. How many more games do I have to show? Oh boy, this is gonna be a long video. I guess just watch the matchups that you want to watch. because this is gonna be like a really long video. All right, now we have Lumberloon freeze with mirror of all things. This guy swapped the mirror in instead of the bar barrel. I don't even know if that's such a good thing, but just imagine freeze and then mirroring the freeze, like what that can do to your tower if they do that. Of course, it's super expensive, so it's not gonna do it too much. And yeah, I actually love that fireball. I saw that I could clip the lumberjack. That's actually a thing that I do a lot of. If I can, uh, Skelly Barrel first play, I will always hover my fireball. Like I will hold it right next to the tower just in case I get some value like a Mother Witch or a Magic Archer or indeed in that case a Lumberjack because they always play something else after. It might even just be a Zap, so in that case you don't get the extra value. But if you can clip any troop whatsoever with that fireball at the start of the game, that is huge. Since at the start of the game, it's not many people are gonna rush you or like punish you for playing a fireball, so it's always really good value. And here is when I figured out that he has a mirror because I think yeah he mirrored a an E-drag on the opposite side. So that musketeer was really good because not only kills the E-drag on the left, but it also goes for the E-drag on the right. And as a result, my knight gets a bunch of damage. Here I also think I make a mistake. I see that the E-drag is mirrored, so I'm like, wait, that might be enough elixir to activate my king tower, enough HP to activate my king tower, but nope. I just waste a log and the knight, and he gets a bunch of value with the bowler. So yeah, annoying. But this is actually not that bad of a matchup. It's really hard if they start spamming you with Lumberloon freeze at the bridge, but as long as you keep enough of a pressure without overcommitting, that is, I guess, the hard part. You gotta keep enough of a pressure, but without overcommitting. And yeah, look at this fireball value. Boom! So yeah, as I was saying, as long as you keep enough pressure on your opponent's tower without overcommitting, then they can't really do anything, and you have the matchup in your advantage because they spend all their elixir defending, and that means that they can't rush you with 9 elixir at the bridge. Because as strong as a Lumberloon at the bridge is, it is 9 elixir. So it's not cheap, not cheap at all. Let's go for an Ado there. I don't actually activate my king tower here because I wanted to defend the opposite side as well as this side. And Mortar does get a shot on the tower. It also wastes him a lot of elixir. I don't know why I went for that Skelly Barrel there. That was kind of a bad Skelly Barrel. I guess it's just because I didn't want to leak elixir, but I might as well have done it opposite lane. And here he goes for his first Lumberloon of the game. Luckily, we have everything we need to defend it. We have a Musketeer already on the field. We have a Mortar down. So even with like a double freeze, like freeze and then mirror freeze, that would not have been enough. And yeah, this is like a matchup where if you get to double or triple elixir, you pretty much can't break through anymore. So at some point, if your opponent's tower is low enough, like this one at 733 damage HP, you do want to start spell cycling them just to finish the game sooner than they can take your tower. So like right now, we'll just fireball the uh, dragon there, which almost loses me the game actually. But look at that right side tower. I guess he just forgot. I could have still fireballed on defense there, but the reason I actually fireballed that eye drag is because one more fireball log would have won me the game, even if he defended the right side. But yeah, uh, a pretty good matchup. Not the best one in the game, but still a pretty good matchup. Oh, here I lost one against this deck. It's so annoying. Actually, I'm gonna show you like a little part of this because that is exactly what I was talking about earlier when I said to not log the Skelly King ability too early. Sometimes you really have to wait a little, like tank a little bit of damage on your tower just so you won't get overwhelmed later, because I'm gonna show you right now, I pretty much lose this entire game because I log the Skelly King ability slightly too early. Oh, there we go, wait. Alright, yeah. So this is the interaction here. This is the thing that I wanted to show you guys before we get on to the next game. He goes for that Skelly King, I go for my Musketeer, everything is great. I can defend this with a log, but look at that, I log way too early. All those Skellies, they are on my Musketeer. They are on everything. The miner tanks for them, and I lose my whole tower just because I logged way too early. So let's watch that again. If I didn't log like that, that whole push would have been defended with exactly the same cards. It's not even like I would have had to play any other card. Just log slightly more to the right, log slightly later. My Musketeer stays alive, defends the whole push. Maybe I do get a little bit of damage, but I definitely don't lose my tower. So it's small interactions like that you have to watch out for. Now this one is important. You guys might not know it, but Loon 2.9 is one of the hardest matchups in the game. It's harder than Hog 2.6, which is also a really hard matchup. So this is more than a hard counter. This is pretty much like Hog EQ. Winning against Loon 2.9 is just like winning against Hog EQ. It is, I would say, maybe a 2080 matchup, but I will put it closer to a 1090 matchup even. I have once made a tier list of the matchups for Mortar bait, and this one was in the 1090 category, right next to Hog EQ, because it's impossible to defend. If they actually start spamming you at the bridge with Ice Golem Loon, this is impossible to defend. So I'm gonna try to show you how to beat this, but admittedly, like honestly, I don't even know how I did this. It was kind of like one of those situations where you miraculously start getting more and more musketeers on the field, I think, and you overwhelm your opponent. I'm not sure. I don't fully remember it, but I'm gonna try to show this. So one thing that you do have, like one little advantage that you do have in this matchup, is that you have a fireball and they only have a snowball. So if it ever gets to, oh nice, yeah, there my musketeer actually sniped his before the ice golem, but of course I can't really get much value out of that because of the way his deck works. That is why this is such a hard matchup. You can see that despite like all that huge lead that I had, I barely got any damage. uh, Actually, I didn't get any damage at all, pretty much, like just a log worth of damage. But yeah, as I was saying before, like the nice thing about this matchup is that if you can hold on until the tiebreaker without losing your tower, which is a lot easier to say than to do, then you can actually spell cycle them faster than they can spell cycle you, because Fireball does more than Snowball. You will most of the time have to keep your fireballs for defense, though. As you saw there, I was pretty much at 0 elixir, and he was already like almost on my tower with that loon. And here you can go again for it. This is exactly the reason why this is such a bad matchup. Look at that. I was barely done with the last defense, and this fireball saves my ass so hard. I mean, it still gets a bunch of damage with the musketeer, but that fireball last second, hitting both the miner and the loon, whoo baby. Also, yeah, him playing that right there. I don't know if that was like a finger slip or something, but definitely not a good bomb tower. I will put it like that. So yeah, as you can see here, I know that my opponent pretty much already chose the tower that he's gonna go for, so I start cycling musketeers. My mortar hits his, so I can get like a nice fireball out of it. And here I get like 2 musketeers out of the field, and I was like, okay, if I don't overwhelm here, I am dead. This is like my only chance to win this super super hard matchup. So I try spamming a lot more. Unluckily, my musketeer dies, but I already committed way too much, so I just spam everything at the bridge. He's kind of smart with the bomb tower, but as long as I can keep my musketeers always on the field, as long as I can keep always having one musketeer clogging the lane and like getting back to another musketeer after fireballing his muskies like that, I think I can come back. At any moment though, he might just go at the bridge with like Ice Golem, Loon, Miner on the tower, like everything. Here he even leaks a little. I didn't even see that before. I didn't know when I was playing this that he was leaking there, but I guess that might be another reason that I won this super hard matchup. That log saving my musketeer is also super useful. It kills his musketeer in time, and that gives me the mortar connection on the tower, which is super rare. In this matchup, you never get mortar connections on the tower. Because they have Skellies to distract, they have a super fast cycle, they have so many things to keep you from connecting to the tower. So definitely treasure all those mortars. And this is like one of those really really rare cases where I have the damage lead on a Loon 2.9 player, and we are really close to the tiebreaker. So at this point, I just try super hard to not let him connect either with the Loon death damage or with the Loon itself, because like I can even tank a little bit of minor damage since I have the damage lead, and as I said before, I can spell cycle him more than he can spell cycle me. But yeah, a very good thing to do in this matchup is to, when you see a Loon at the bridge, place a gang behind the tower. Goblin Gang behind the tower is the best Loon at the bridge counter in this game, which is so stupid, but it's because they always play a miner with it. So you might as well predict the miner when you see the Loon at the bridge. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it was that miraculous mortar connection. It was me realizing that I could just turtle up at some point, even with like a little bit of a damage lead, but I won a super hard counter here. And yeah, pretty proud of that one. But yeah, then immediately after that, I played against Kamikaze. You guys might know him. He's the best giant double print. Yeah, right now he's top 100. Best giant double prints player in the game. That was actually like a super close game. I almost beat Kamikaze, bro. That would have been super nice to show, but whatever. Here I go against Chatter. He's a guy that I know. He's part of my community. He's in my Discord. He's usually watching my streams as well, but I'm gonna actually go really fast over this because I have like 1,000 different videos on how to beat Pekka bridge spam. It's a pretty good matchup, one of the best matchups in the game, I would say. So if you don't choke, you always win this. I did kind of choke there at the start by allowing that bandit to connect. But what I'm gonna do is like super fast. There's not much to show. It's pretty much just apply pressure at the bridge wherever you can with your mortars. Mortars are like really good. If you can defend a battle ram by putting a mortar in the middle, that is also really good because you can attack while defending. And a nice thing that I did in this game that also allowed me to get the win is I cycled 2 logs on his magic archer. 2 logs do kill a magic archer, and in some situations they can be better than a farbo. Now, this next one is the CRL minor deck that I was talking about before. The reason I call this the CRL minor deck is because at the start, this was literally only used in the CRL. Nobody was using it on ladder back in the day, like last year, I guess. CRL. Maybe it was actually used in the CRL of 2 years ago. I'm not sure if it was already a thing back then, but now, like, this is, I think, the first year that people are actually using this on ladder, which honestly I'm pretty happy about, because if you pressure well, this is not a bad matchup at all. They can rocket cycle you. If you can't break through, they will win. If you can't get a bunch of damage on their tower, they will win. So this is not a matchup where you just get a little spell damage here, a little spear goblin on the tower there. You can't win like that because they can just cycle miners and rockets on your tower and you will lose. He does miss a log here. Yeah, actually this was like a really easy game, I think, because this guy kept making mistakes, but it's pretty much about the same thing that I did with Icebow. Of course, it's a little different gameplay because it's a completely different deck, but you pretty much just want to pressure with mortars. If it's not as easy as it was here, then you do have to go double lane. But here I had already like 2,000 damage on that tower, so it really didn't feel like double laning. I feel like I had a big enough advantage that I could just focus on one tower immediately from the start. But yeah, like you just that rocket was kind of lucky there, like getting my Skelly barrel. But yeah, you pretty much just apply pressure as much as you can. Always try to predict their building. The building is either a Tesla or an Inferno. Inferno is of course a better matchup even, but even the Tesla is not that bad. It's just that the Inferno you can predict it with anything really, while the Tesla you either need a knight or either need a knight or a goblin gang. If you just put spear gobs, it's not gonna be enough. And even the goblin gang, they can log it if they have login cycle. So knight is pretty much the best way to predict a Tesla in front of your mortar. But yeah, just mortar at the bridge, musketeer immediately to DPS down whatever they put, like the musketeer in the middle, as you saw there. It's really good to break through. And then something to tank for the Tesla. If you can get like that 3-piece combo, mortar plus musk plus tank, that is already enough to win. Here, this is just like a random guy that joined my clan. This is not ladder. And yeah, here against trainer Toby, we do have SK SK drill, which is actually a thing. This looks super weird, but it is actually a real deck that is in the meta right now, surprisingly enough. I'm getting tired as well, bro. I've been talking for a while. How long is this video? I have no idea how long this video is gonna be. This is way too many games to show in one video, man. But y'all wanted content, y'all got the content, bro. I'm just chilling in my bed, honestly. It's like 5 a.m. or so. It's 6 a.m. right now. 6 a.m., bro. Just chilling in my bed, recording a Clash Royale video. Now that is life. I think I fireballed this. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of late with that fireball, but still got a mortar shot out of it. So, Mortar players, when they get a shot on the tower after spending 10 elixir, lol. That is true though. Against the cycle decks, like wall breaker decks, just one mortar shot on the tower is super valuable. Definitely not against decks like lava or golem. You don't care about one mortar shot in those decks for sure. So yeah, here I actually log way too late, but I just log on defense like that. If you have insane reaction times, which I definitely don't, which is kind of holding me back, you can definitely log the wall breakers at the bridge, so you can still get the log chip damage on the tower while defending the wall breakers. My problem is I don't really have the fastest reaction time. I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to Clash Royale. Like all these kids that are super good at the game, they have way faster reaction times than me, bro. Which means I shouldn't really play Mortar Bait. I should probably play Golem because of how slow my reaction times are. But hey, bro, I'm only 22. Okay, I'm not that old yet. All right, Mortar there. Mortar always a really good defense against wall breakers because it defends and also attacks at the same time. And there I made a huge mistake. If I didn't play the spear gobs so early, if I waited for the bomber to focus on my mortar, I think I would have gotten not only the spear gobs counter push, but also uh, a mortar shot on the tower, like for sure. That was kind of like a big mistake. But as you can see there, what I said before when I showed you the other drill wall breakers games is most of the time these drill players will go for goblin drill plus fireball on your tower. And that often, if you are not ready for it, that can just win them the game immediately because you have nothing on the field to defend these uh extra. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Wait a second, I was talking too much there. Didn't see that. But yeah, my point is, if they go drill fireball on your tower, you need to have a log ready to kill them. But yo, look at that musketeer though. I'm sorry I had to pause and rewind for this, but like, look at this. Skellies are tanking for the musketeer. The musketeer is on the tower right now. The spear gobs actually killed that fire spirit, and the musketeer gets so much damage there. That was insane. 1 HP Musketeers pretty much make the whole deck. And yeah, here I definitely fireball. There is so much stuff on the field. I think the Mortar even gets a shot on the tower. Ooh, no, it doesn't. That would have been nice if it did. Like 0 HP Mortar getting a shot on the tower. I do log that just to kill the Fire Spirit and the Bomber. But yeah, I'm still thinking about that 1 HP Musketeer, man. Sometimes, really, it's just like tanking for a 1 HP Musketeer, either with a Goblin Barrel or, like, not a Goblin Barrel, sorry, a Skelly Barrel or, anything. In that case, it was literally just the skeletons themselves from the Skelly Barrel and the Spear Gobs. It just gets you so much damage. Definitely log worthy there, yeah, for sure. And definitely gonna get a bunch of damage here. No, actually, okay, no, actually, yeah, no, that bomber does clip my tower a little bit too much for comfort, but that was a lot less bad than I expected. Ooh, I think, yeah, this is a fireball. This is very tight fireball. One of the wall breakers does end up connecting, and these goblins do get a lot of damage. But since he had to attack there, like since he spent all his elixir on attacking, he couldn't defend, and that was GG. That was one of those situations where he either gets my tower or he loses his tower. He just went all in there. Didn't really pay off for him. Now the next one is against Lavaloon free. Bro, I swear to God, this is not mid ladder, guys. I swear to God, this is top ladder. Why would you run Mighty Miner Lavaloon Freeze on top ladder? Is completely beyond me, but I guess we're gonna see. So of course, Skelly brought the bridge, a really good way to start the game. If they do answer with the Skelly drags, ooh, yeah, now I remember this. That was like so awkward to defend. That was actually really, really smart from him to just go Skelly drags Loon at the bridge, like at the start of the game. That completely caught me off guard. If I didn't have my Mortar in cycle, I would have taken like a Loon hit on my tower, maybe even more if he froze. But yeah, best way to defend Mighty Miner, guys, Spear Gob's in the middle of the arena. Even if he activates the ability, he can't do anything about it. You can either Spear Gobs or Goblin Gang in the center of the arena, and Mighty Miner is just so easy to defend with Mortar Bait. But yeah, once you see the lava, start cycling your Musketeers in the back. That is always the best thing to do when you see a lava opposite lane. And here I actually went for that Scalibur just because I didn't want to get overwhelmed. Like I wanted him to spend some elixir on defense because I didn't have anything else to defend with. So, sometimes an attack is the best defense. So very, very awkward defense here. I do get a bunch of damage on my tower, but it's because that Mighty Miner targeted my Knight instead of the Goblin Gang that I put in the middle. If that didn't happen, that would have been a pretty flawless defense. So kinda playing from behind here, like 1,000 damage behind. It's a bunch of damage actually to be behind. But this is Lavaloon, so it's not as big of a problem. If these were a deck like Hog Cycle or Wall Breakers or pretty much any cycle deck, a 1,000 damage difference would have already doomed me for the rest of the game. But since it's a beatdown deck, 1,000 damage is nothing that I can't come back from. I think, yeah, this is where he froze the first time, and I was like, what? What is going on? It caught me by surprise, but it was kind of a bad freeze because I didn't really have to do anything else. I already had enough troops on the field that the freeze didn't really do anything. So it was really nice to find out about the freeze like that, rather than finding out about the freeze when he could have taken my tower with it. I do go offensive here because I'm like, yeah, I can't defend a Lavaloon plus freeze push, so I need to start applying pressure. So I start cycling my Musketeers as much as possible. Playing your Musketeer first, doing the mask stacking thing that I keep talking about, is really, really useful because as you can see there, it allowed me to cycle back to another Musketeer here, which is the only reason I could have defended this push. If I didn't have this second Musketeer here, I would have definitely lost. And yeah, the more time goes on, the more you wanna get value out of your Musketeers. As you can see, like, I played that Mortar literally only because I had a Musketeer on the field. Because if I play a Mortar, he has to cycle something to either tank for the Mortar or to kill the Mortar in that case, like he did with that Loon, and that gives my Musketeers even more value, which is the only way to win this, really. Oh, oh, sorry about that. I closed the screen. I don't know if that shows in the video. Let me rewind a bit. I kind of pressed that while readjusting in my bed. I'm really comfy right now, guys. I don't know where you're watching this from. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you're watching this from, but I am currently in my bed and I'm really, really comfy. I'm comfy enough that I'm recording a 1 hour long video apparently. So yeah, once they place that tombstone like that, you can place your Scalibur in a position that bypasses it. If you guys don't know about it, placing the Scalibur behind the lever bypasses buildings if they don't play them high up. And here I go for a really cheeky move. I log the Mighty Miner so that my Mortar survives long enough to get an extra shot in. It wasn't really necessary. I could have cycled another Fireball, but I don't know. Kind of a funny way to end it. So next one is... oh boy. Oh yeah, I hate this deck so much. This is Yusuf. Right now is really high up. What a guy. This is like the best Italian player ever. But he usually plays with Hog, so I wasn't expecting him to play this deck. He kind of just took me by surprise. But yeah, man, we finally got to the last game, and what a last game it was. I don't know if you guys know about this deck. This is E-Giant Graveyard with Golden Knight. I hate it so much. E-Giant is usually a Mortar matchup, but there is a funny story about this. When I was pushing earlier in the season, I actually lost this matchup because the Golden Knight, somehow, I still can't believe that that happened. it somehow pushed the E-Giant out of range of my Mortar. So the E-Giant completely ignored my Mortar and went straight from my tower, and made me lose a game where I was pretty much just sitting comfortably winning for the entire game. I was in control the whole game, and then that little thing happened, and I just lost. And it put me on like a tilt. It made me lose like 8 games in a row after that because I was in such a bad mindset after that. So, the fact that this is the game that got me to 7,600 is kinda poetic. It's kinda great. I shouldn't have gone for the mortar that early, actually. I should have let it connect to my musketeer because it would have been better to have a mortar HP rather than that. But at this point, I didn't even know what deck this was. And yeah, I cycled my mortar not knowing it was E-Giant. I kinda panicked here, but a really nicely timed log makes it so my spear gobs survive long enough to kill the E-Giant. So yeah, I got taken like way by surprise. This guy is just laughing his ass off. He really thought he had me. There is nothing that E-Giant players want to see more than you cycling your mortar. Once they see you cycle your mortar to the bridge, they're like, "Ooh, nice, free tower right there." So the fact that I survived that, kind of insane. I'm not even sure how that happened. But yeah, usually, as I said before, Mortar Bait has matchup against pretty much every single E-Giant deck in the game, and that is a pretty bad fireball actually. Like, I should have just waited for it to cross and just use Spear Gobs. That is 2 elixir less. Yeah, and like this is gonna be a really awkward defense here. Kind of works out, but yeah, kind of annoying as well. Shouldn't even have played that Goblin Gang. But yeah, in this case, sorry if I keep interrupting myself. In this case, Mortar Bait does not have matchup. This is one of the only giant decks that I've ever played against where Mortar Bait does not actually have matchup. It's incredible, and it's because of the Tornado plus Golden Knight combo. Tornado plus Golden Knight makes this matchup super hard because at any point in the game, they can just decide to go Golden Knight plus Tornado at the bridge, and it doesn't matter what you defend that with, they are gonna get a Golden Knight ability on your tower, and you can't do anything about that. That is a nice log, by the way, against that Tombstone. Gets me a lot of Skelly damage. Sometimes when they go for those deep tombstones, you do want to log them so that the skellies from your skelly barrel can defend that. And yeah, as you can see, he also has graveyard here. Luckily, I did have a log in my hand. Still get a lot of damage, but kind of weird. Like, this guy has e-golem and graveyard. It's like, why is this even a thing? This really couldn't be a thing unless Golden Knight wasn't broken. Like, if Golden Knight wasn't broken, that this deck really couldn't exist. So yeah, I'm currently sitting comfortably. Way high damage lead on his tower. I go for Fireball plus log. I think actually no, I don't log it because I still have to defend the E-Giant with my mortar, so my mortar is gonna kill the cannon card no matter what. And this is the reason that it is such a bad matchup. Look at that Golden Knight. He just NATOs. Oh wow! Actually, I got really lucky with that Musketeer. The ability didn't reach my tower, but like if this guy got a little luckier, like Golden Knight is really unpredictable with the ability. That's what makes him so broken. I feel like another time that would have actually connected. And yeah, here I actually have to go for a defensive mortar because I didn't have anything at all to tank for that cannon card. The guy literally just went cannon card graveyard to the bridge. Super annoying. And yeah, here he activates the ability and ooh, okay, he still doesn't get to my tower. I'm sure that at some point he gets to my tower with one of those abilities, and that just gives me a heart attack. But yeah, like despite all the damage lead that I have, despite the fact that I'm so high on damage, I'm still scared because at any point this guy can just take my tower with one lucky Golden Knight. That is so annoying. Like here, I think it's here. Go for the knight. He NATOs everything and he gets on my tower. Now, tell me if that isn't infuriating. I had to fireball that because otherwise I would have lost. But luckily, he couldn't defend both sides here. So I spammed the bridge. I'm like, okay, this is the last 10 seconds. I can't allow him to get on another offense. I just need to go, go, go. So I do get a bit of damage. I just fireball log his tower to get that extra damage. Place my Goblin Gang. Despite the arrows, it was too late. And that is GG. Wow. Well, thank you for staying with me through this very long journey. I have showed a lot of gameplay. I think this video is 1 hour long. I'm not sure, but probably 1 hour or more long. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. What a game to finish it on. I I actually really enjoyed this season. It was a pretty good meta for Mortar bait. I couldn't get to 8K sadly because I went on way too many tilts. I'm like I'm good with finishing at Royal Champion rather than Ultimate Champion. But yeah, my game is stuck on 93%, which I guess is a really good reason to just close the video here. Thank you for watching. 70 minutes. Oh my god. I'm gonna see you in the next one, alright? Play Mortar Bait, be excellent to each other. Love you all. Bye bye.